This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome in. Pierre Nugent, Fox 9 Minneapolis, joins us on Thursdays. Pierre, who is 5-0, and you see, look, I didn't even move the picks. He was 5-0 last week, so you can see his glorious record every time we flip over to that shot of the screen, because it is pick'em time this week. Pierre, first off, I have to tell you, I have not seen Amazing Race yet, so we can't talk about that.
I'm halfway through the episode. I actually had to stop it midway through, so I haven't seen the end of it just yet. So we will reconvene next week on that.
So Levi made a point before the show that, yes, you might have been 5-0, but you had to cover Minnesota and Iowa. So that, to all of us, is punishment enough.
You know, it's funny because I was surprised that I actually did not travel for the game, which I thought we were going to, but we did not. But I watched the game from a wedding reception on Saturday. I watched the entire second half. And at one point during the reception, I was on the punt return that was brought back due to penalty. During that time, it slipped out of my mouth. You've been around me enough times, Paul. You know how it just casually slipped out of my mouth out loud at a wedding reception. You've got to be blanking kidding me. And I said, oh gosh, I forgot where I was for a second, but what a finish that was in that game.
Oh my gosh. Just it is. And here's the deal. Kirk Ferentz has dug so far in on this that I don't think, even if they make him fire his kid,
yeah,
I honestly think he'd be like, you know who's the offensive coordinator? Me.
Yeah,
I am.
Yeah.
We have two plays. One is called right. The other one is called left. That is what we're going to do. And then I will tell the guy who is getting the ball, whether he goes right or left, I will shout it out so everyone knows. I don't care. If I get 4 field goals in a game, I'm happy.
Right. And it's so this is the other frustrating part when you're talking about Iowa and other teams kind of like them. It's, they play such a boring style of football. But going into that game, they were 5-1 or 6-1, whatever it was, going into that game, playing that style of football and ranked nationally. So it's just like we want to kick and scream about the way the style is, but the ends, I guess, justify the means sometimes. But it's just a brutal style of football to watch.
The problem is, look, if you compare it to PJ Fleck and who you cover, he wants to play a hard, he's not, worried about scoring 42 points a game because if his style works, it's fine. But he's also not trying to score 17.
No.
If you told him you could get 31 points a game, he would be thrilled. He'd be like, I won't wear a tie anymore if you told me that. Whatever you say, I'll do it. And you told Kirk Ferentz, we'd like you to average 31 points a game and give up 17. He would be like, no.
What? No. What is this? Am I still coaching the same game? This isn't basketball.
Hold on. I have to leave this room because you people disgust me.
Yeah, correct. Correct. That's exactly his reaction. But when you say it out loud like that, I'm thinking to myself, my God, if Minnesota averaged 31 points a game, they would be in the top 15 probably.
Yeah, and look, there are other schools in the country that if you said you're going to average 31 points a game, they'd be like, no, that's not enough. We need to average 48. Correct. Yeah, that's what we want to do. So all that Iowa, I think, really wants, the fans want, is some sort of middle ground, right?
Yeah,
where you can play great defense, but when you play Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State, about to be Oregon and USC and all these schools, that you're not going to get worked because your style only works against teams like Minnesota.
Right. And that opens up the door. Once again, it just brought us all back here. Those of us who cover the Big Ten, it just brought us once again. We just look over the Big Ten West Division. We're thinking to ourselves, okay, fine, that's fine. All of you can mess around in the kiddie pool and then have your fun time. And then whichever one of you emerges is just going to be the lamb to the slaughter in the Big Ten championship game, like it's always been.
Yeah, and look, I'm about to pull up their future schedule for next year. And Iowa next year has Maryland, a good offensive team.
Mm-hmm.
They have Ohio State, UCLA, Washington, and Wisconsin. That's 5 offenses that they can't score with.
No.
So, and that's just, and that I'm not even like, I don't know what's going to happen at Nebraska or Northwestern. Maybe they turn into that too. It can happen fast, right?
Absolutely.
So, Minnesota got that win, and I think America was pulling for Minnesota because I think maybe part of Iowa might have been we'll give up Floyd of Rosedale for a year if it means that we can see touchdowns.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I could remember. I wish I could remember who I was talking to earlier in the week so I can give them credit. But somebody said to me when they were watching the punt return happen in real time, they immediately thought of, I believe it's Jesse from Breaking Bad when he's talking about Walter White saying, he can't keep getting away with this.
Yes.
It was that kind of reaction to it because you cannot continuously be rewarded for playing this awful brand of football. Why? No. Why is it allowed to occur here in the college football world?
Well, here's the thing: is his side of the conference spent so long essentially chasing him, knowing look, we don't have to do this, and all those things. Plus, they got lucky that when they made it into East and West, that the East was the schools that are always going to try to score, right? And even for a long time, Michigan wasn't good at it. They just until Jim Harbaugh came there. They were kind of old school. Ohio State is always on the cutting edge of whatever's going on. At least compared to the Big Ten. They might be behind everybody else, in the South, but Ohio State is always, especially since Urban Meyer got there, Ryan Day, they're always trying to stay one step ahead. And that's the nicest thing you'll ever hear me say about Urban Meyer. But but they're always trying to stay one step ahead. So it was interesting to me that, that nobody else in the Big Ten West was and I guess Wisconsin now is well, if we just score 21 points, we'll probably win this game. So if we can find our way to a touchdown in 3 of 4 quarters, we'll win this game because they're not even trying to do that. I was not even trying to do it.
So many teams in the Big Ten West, it's the first to 20 wins, the first to 21 wins. And then in half those games, you're hoping that somebody gets to 21. That's how bad and how much of a dogfight it is week in and week out. We're talking about the teams in the Big Ten West.
Yeah, absolutely. So, at least the whole Iowa could sneak into the playoff if everything fell the right way is over now. Yeah. It wasn't going to happen, but that was the, that would be the ultimate, double birds to everyone else, as if with his awful offense, Kirk Ferentz is well, I'm the 4th best team in the country. You other clowns that score touchdowns just punched yourself out of this one.
Could you imagine, though? I mean, honestly, and I remember I had a friend text me after Minnesota beat Iowa in that game. They said, there goes my dream of seeing Iowa in the playoff and causing an absolute ruckus if they somehow, some way found themselves in the top 4, which I think we all knew probably was a long shot to begin with. But could you imagine if that happened, just the hilarity that would ensue after that for everybody in the college football world?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to talk about Jim Harbaugh in the next segment. I'm very curious on your perspective on it, and your perspective not only as just you, Pierre, but as someone who is in Big Ten country, and there's way more outrage there, obviously, than there is other places because it directly has affected them so far. But again, this is, it's the NCAA. So anybody who's hoping to feast on the bones of Jim Harbaugh, I better plan a different meal, honestly, because it's just not gonna happen. All right, to this week, Pierre, kind of a bland week as far as, big marquee matchups. I mean, the biggest one is Oregon versus Utah, and Oregon comes in rolling. Utah is what Iowa could be, right?
Yes.
Kyle Whittingham knows his defense is great. He doesn't he wants to coach a tough defensive team, but also he understands that in the modern parlance of football, points are important, and they get what they can. Look, I saw Utah earlier this year. They beat Baylor in a very close game. And they just didn't their defense looked great, but their offense was Iowa-esque. And they have found ways to get better at that each week. Now, part of the ways you get better at that is play the anti-Iowa, which is USC, who doesn't tackle, doesn't much care to block anymore either, apparently, and kind of lets you in every single game. But they still had to come back and do it, and they did it against USC, a team that they own. But I do think this week against Oregon, that's going to be a little bit tougher because this is one where as good as you've been on offense and the wrinkles that you made the last few weeks have worked, Bo Nix is on that other side, and that to me is the huge X factor in this game.
I would agree. And when you look at these two teams, the first thing that comes to mind, and I'm kind of an old school guy in terms of the way I look at the game, in terms of the game is one in the trenches. And you have a stellar offensive line for Oregon, and you have a stellar defensive front for Utah. And it's, hey, put your hand in the ground and may the best man win in this kind of game. That's the feel that I get from this type of game. And Bo Nix, obviously, the edge at quarterback, obviously, is going to go to Oregon, with Cam Rising not playing for the rest of the season for Utah. So it's hard for me to pick against the team with who I feel has the better quarterback and has the more consistent quarterback play. But Utah's defense, boy, they seem to just always rise to the occasion, don't they? When you need a big play, they just have a knack for just finding a way to get the big plays done in clutch times. And it's hard for me if this game was in Oregon, I would say, yeah, I think Oregon might be running away with this. But the fact that Utah's hosting this game, and they know, you don't think they already know the whispers of like, oh, yeah, you did good against USC last week, and that's all well and good. But wait till Oregon comes to town, then we'll see how you do. They're hearing the whispers, so. It's the battle up front to me. Like I said, it's Oregon's offensive line against Utah's front seven, and whoever wins that matchup is going to come out on top.
Yeah, and Sione Vaki, the safety, who's now a running back and a safety, old school, classic throwback, playing both ways. He'll be fun to watch for Utah. Oregon's just got a lot, and we picked that game later on in the show. The other ranked matchup is a little bit damaged because I don't think Riley Leonard is going to play for Duke against Louisville. I would assume he isn't. I mean, he really toughed it out against FSU and almost sent me into cardiac arrest. But when he got hurt in that game, as much as he tried to get, and it was admirable. I mean, he was trying, like, showing the trainer that he could like make moves and cuts. And then the trainer was like jumping in front of him, and I think saying like, look, I can get in front of you. Like, I'm not them. I'm not Jared Verse. We're not sending you back out there. And then he had to go to Mike Elko, and Mike Elko had to go, listen, bud, I love you, but you have got to just go relax. Like, this thing's going to hurt way worse after the game when your adrenaline is gone. So, I just think that they probably are going to try to get through without him. They'll do a little gamesmanship and make it seem like maybe he will, because he did. He toughed it out for the majority of that game. But I mean, it's hard to see them as different as they are with Henry Beelan at quarterback winning a game against Louisville. But maybe Louisville's not as good as we thought. I don't know. But this is the only ranked matchup of the week.
Yeah, and when you look at Louisville, on top of the world a few weeks ago after beating Notre Dame, and then you come crashing back down to earth in a hurry when you go to Pitt and you get knocked around by Pitt. And now I'm left wondering, well, which one are you? Yeah. I don't know which team you are then. I mean, who should I believe? And that's why I always hate picking games like this, because you think you know a team and then you see them, like I said, walk into Pitt the way that they did and take a complete giant step back in that game. So every ounce of my gut feels like Duke is the better overall team.
And they won against NC State without Riley Leonard. So
right. Yeah. I don't know which way I'm going. When you sent me the pick'em list, my initial gut reaction was, wow, am I going to pick all 5 road teams? Am I really going to pick all 5 road teams this week? I don't know if I have the guts to do that, but I still think Duke has the better overall team, though, Paul. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. It's just hard. It's just hard to see against a Louisville team that is not NC State, right? So they're better than NC State. That's where it gets hard because, and I've said this several times on the show this week, I remember thinking 14.5 was a really big line for FSU and Duke last week. But it's because Vegas thought that Riley Leonard was not going to play. And then with Riley Leonard in the game, it was very even. In fact, Duke was winning. I don't think that was necessary. Like, we don't know what would have happened had he stayed in the game the whole time. Don't know. But as soon as he went out of the game, FSU took complete control and won by 18. So Vegas was right. If Riley Leonard doesn't play, this is a big gap. So that gap is obviously smaller with Louisville, but we'll see. We'll see what happens there. And I might still pick Duke because their defense is legit tough. I mean, they really just clamp down. They don't make a ton of mistakes. Their offense commits some penalties. Or at least they did against FSU, which I think part of that is to be a little bit understood is like when you've got guys that are that athletic, rushing the passer on you, you're going to hold. Like you're going to have to and just hope that you don't get caught.
I at the very same wedding reception that I was at after that Iowa-Minnesota game was over, I wasn't paying full attention to it, but I had one eye on Duke and Florida State. I kept looking up to see what was going on and I saw that Duke was ahead in the early going. And I said, first thought was you, buddy. I was like, buckle up, Paul. We're in for a long one here tonight, aren't we?
I knew it. I was walking around like, am I sweating? I feel like I'm sweating. Am I sweating? I'm sweating. I don't know. Like, it's just, and I'm turning to my wife, Amanda, and she's like, it's fine. I'm like, it's not, do I look fine?
Do I look fine? No, it's fine. It's fine. No, it's going to be fine.
Yeah. It's very rare where your wife's like, just have a drink. Have one. Just have a drink. Calm down. Like, okay.
Yep.
I've got some whiskey over here.
Or 12.
Yeah. I got a couple of those in me. And it was easier to deal with.
I would imagine so.
Yeah. Other games this week I find intriguing. Oklahoma and Kansas. Kansas is good. Jason Bean has taken over at quarterback there since Jalen Daniels has been hurt. Oklahoma got their scare last week, so this might be bad news for Kansas, but I think this was going to be interesting in Lawrence for a little while.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't know how you feel about it, but when it comes to Oklahoma, why do I have the feeling that Oklahoma really just emptied the tank against Texas? And I don't really know if I feel like this team is as good as people maybe want to portray them. They're a very good football team. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to take anything away from Oklahoma, but in the games other than Texas that I've seen Oklahoma in, I don't feel like I'm looking at a Final Four type team. It doesn't feel that way.
Yeah.
But then again, they've set themselves up beautifully and they have everything in front of them at this point. So like I said, I don't want to take anything away from them, but there's just something about Oklahoma where I just I feel like there's just a little something missing with this team. And I can't really put my finger on what it is.
Of the undefeated teams that are remaining that are in the Power Five, at least, they feel to me to be the most gettable.
Mm-hmm.
With their schedule that they have remaining. The like Michigan, Ohio State, one of them's going to get the other, so we have to take that out. But even if those say those kind of cancel each other out just because they have to, then FSU's got probably a better schedule down the line. Washington feels a little less gettable, although their schedule is really tough. It just they feel like they're a little bit vulnerable. The good news for them, though, and I think moving forward is they had a lot of doubts about Brent Venables and that staff after what happened last year. But I do think that people don't understand that thought that Venables was doing a bad job, what actually happened to the roster and in the modern era of college football. If Frank Solich takes over for Tom Osborne and takes a step back, then Nebraska fans can be mad because literally lost no one. Like, you can't lose people other than to graduation or arrests or flunking out of school. Like, that's the only time you lost people. And transfers were few and far between. You didn't really worry about it when it happened because it would be like, well, we lost this one guy. He doesn't want to be here anymore. So that's a bummer, but, it's not that. When you have the rules we have now, and all these people, especially Caleb Williams, followed Lincoln Riley to USC, and then other people just said, well, I don't want to play Brent Venables. I'll go somewhere else. It wasn't really knocking Brent Venables. It was just like, this is not what I signed up for, so I'm going to go to another place. Or, hey, NIL money's come my way before Oklahoma's even gotten a chance to talk to me. I'm just going to take the money and run. So he navigated through that year, I think, pretty well.
Yeah, I would agree.
Given all the circumstances, and then he doesn't have the whole team he's going to have yet. This is just year 2. When he does, I think, hey, man, like, they're going to do some things in the SEC, Oklahoma. They're still going to be Oklahoma. So I think that's the good news for Oklahoma, that no matter what happens down the stretch, they're going to contend all year long, and they're probably going to be in a New Year's Six bowl game regardless. So, based on last year, all is well. Now, if you expected him to just go and win the national championship this year, not that he couldn't, you don't know what's going to happen, but to put that on him in year 2, I think is unfair.
Maybe that's part of my feelings on Oklahoma, and that's probably, misplaced emotions, thinking to myself, well, it felt like Oklahoma was going through a transition period. You made a perfect point with the roster being the way it is and, the new coaching staff and all that. And I thought this was just going to be a transition period for Oklahoma. Maybe they'll have a down year or two. And by down year, I mean like eight wins, which would be a down year in Oklahoma standards. But that feeling of maybe they will take a step back has not come yet. And kudos to them. Like I said, I'm not trying to take anything away from Oklahoma. I'm really not. I'm just talking about in terms of play from what I've seen outside of the Texas game, this team doesn't really scare me all that much. But we still have a lot of football left to be played, and they could turn it up a notch and it could prove me completely wrong by the end of the season. And I would be perfectly fine with that. I have no problem with it. Just the fallback of Oklahoma that I thought was coming maybe this year has not come. And a credit to the coaching staff and the players for keeping up the way that they have.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we're going to take a break right here. When we come back, Pierre's thoughts on Jim Harbaugh. I am very curious to hear this. We talked about it a little bit last week. Did we talk about it when it came out? Because it was kind of late last Thursday.
Did. It was breaking news last week when we talked about it. Yeah.
Now that you know more about it, now that we actually have some details on this, I'm curious as to what you think now, a week out of this, because it broke like right as the show started, and the reaction around Big Ten country where you live. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome back alongside Pierre Nugent of Fox 9 Minneapolis. Hopefully future game show host. I've been thinking about that a lot since you told me that, Pierre.
That is 100% the goal. At some point or another, I know, when this whole sports broadcasting business collapses, like I'm sure it will at some point or another, hopefully game shows will still be around for me to kind of latch onto like a blood-sucking leech. And hopefully I get my shot at some weird game show.
Look, everything now is what MMJ's, right? That's what they're doing is just somebody who shoots something on their phone and be like, hey, Kip, I'm out here with the Twins.
Yep. That's the way a lot of things are going these days. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Do they ever send you down to my old hometown to cover the Twins in spring training?
They are my good buddy, our sports director, Jim Rich. He's the one that gets the honor of doing that, which, I'm going to find a way to maybe let the air out of his tires maybe in February. Yeah. So I can be the one, because, I would love to get out of here in February, March to go to Florida. So I before the Red Sox, the year before the Red Sox moved in was the year that we moved to Fort Myers. And so we got Twins spring training tickets.
And the Rangers, my dad's team, were just to the north in Port Charlotte. So we went a lot. And then the Red Sox built a stadium literally right by my school. So that's how like my Red Sox fandom started. Was we had season tickets, and so every day after school, my mom was the librarian, and she was a teacher at the school. So she would have to stay, and I would just dart over to the City of Palms Park and watch Red Sox games. So
that's a great story, though.
Yeah,
that's a great story.
Yeah, it was. And now they've moved. Like City of Palms Park they just use it for cool city events, and they've got JetBlue, which is in the new fancy south of town area, but the Twins are still there at the Lee County Sports Complex. So I wondered if they would ever be kind enough to send you down there.
Good airline, by the way, JetBlue. That's a pretty good airline. I enjoy JetBlue.
Okay, we don't really get it that much here.
No, not here. We only have one flight of JetBlue out of here. It's from here to Boston, and that's it.
Yeah, we get Spirit, which I won't fly anymore.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'd rather be hit with a rock. Fly Spirit.
I've never flown Spirit, but that is exactly that's the reaction I get from pretty much everybody. So the stories that I've heard have kept me away. So
and the thing is, look, I get that you can embrace that you're not you're the one who bought the ticket on this airline and you knew what you were doing. But when you guys actually do lose my luggage, you should at least give me a little bit of compassion.
Please.
Instead of bro, I don't know what you're so upset about this bag of underwear you brought with you. You can get underwear literally anywhere, man.
I hope because I've never dealt with Spirit Airlines in any capacity, but I really truly do hope that they address people as bro when you get to the ticket counter or to the lost luggage counter. That would be fantastic. I actually might give them some business if they had the audacity to do that.
No, that was the vibe I got. It was. They make you, at least, and this was 10 years ago, but this is the last time I did it. They make you, when they lost the luggage, instead of what every other airline does is you give you a little tag and then they scan it in with their computer and they go, oh, shoot, we left your bag in Dallas. Oh, okay, well, it'll be here on the next flight. Great, thank you, fine. Whatever. Yeah. They made you fill out a form in triplicate with a pink copy and a yellow copy and a white copy. And you got to keep the yellow one. And the pink one went to the guy and then at the luggage place. And then the white one stayed at the desk. And I was like, what decade are we in right now? Are you serious?
So you're saying that Spirit will not be a future sponsor of the show is what you're saying?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And the thing is, the guy even had to remind me, hey, really press down hard when you're writing so it gets to all the levels.
That's phenomenal.
Make sure, the pen is really good. We've got more pens. Oh, thanks.
I hope so.
I'm glad you guys have pens.
Yeah, that's good.
They're all for people's luggage, though. None of them say Spirit.
No,
none of them. They just go to hotels and swipe them. They'll say Holiday Inn.
Oh, God.
Anyway, Pierre.
Yes.
A guy who doesn't have to fly Spirit Airlines because he makes $10 million a year is Jim Harbaugh. Although, I'll tell you, he seems like a bargain hunter.
I can see that.
If they said the private jet is down, we can get you a ticket, a first class ticket somewhere. He'd be like, nah, I saw this deal on Spirit for $39.99. We'll do that.
I was just about to say, how much are the khakis he's wearing? Probably about $35.99, $42.99, something like that.
Yeah. He's you know what? He reminds it. Did you The Office?
Of course.
So they were going to New York, and Dwight's like, if we're going to New York, I can get a crate of my shirts. I got a shirt guy. That's Harbaugh.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I can get a crate of my pants. So, all right. So Jim Harbaugh has probably got a pants guy. Definitely has a signal stealing guy. Now, to what length he went is what's under question. I think people have gotten caught, everybody's stealing signals if they can, but most people, and I'm not saying not all, because there's probably other people that have tried to do this, but to the level that Connor Stallions appears to have done this is beyond the pale and against the rules. So what are your thoughts on, now that you've heard that this guy's bought tickets to all these games and been videotaping, and they have this ornate thing? It was found out because they were looking at computers sees through a third party group. It's getting more and more bizarre by the day.
It really is. And it's kind of getting harder and harder to keep track of where this story is going and the updates, and when the bobbing and weaving that we've seen with Michigan trying to say like, no, it's not that big a deal. This is not, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, so to speak. But my initial thoughts are, I don't know if this is a situation that gets fully resolved by the end of the 2023 season. I think this is whatever punishment, if any, that's coming to Michigan, I think probably will not come until next year. However, if there is a full investigation into what's going on right now, and it's quick enough and it's deemed that it's egregious enough to have affected the outcomes of games or even affected the way games have been called, boy, the NCAA is really has a huge decision to make, because you have the number 2 team in the country that appears to be a cakewalk into the Final Four with the way things are right now. And now suddenly you have a decision to make of whether or not you have to impose some kind of punishment this year that would keep them out of the college football playoff. And the NCAA, they do not want to sit with this hot potato in their hand and have to make a decision on that. But they might have to by the end of the year. But like I said, I don't know if this is a situation that gets fully resolved by the end of the season. You and I have talked about these type of things on this show before, and I've been very consistent with the way that I've presented my thoughts on matters like these, as even if Jim Harbaugh isn't fully aware of the length that this has gone to, or what is really, kind of been concocted within the video department and his coaching staff or what have you, you're the captain of the ship. And for better or worse, the captain goes down with the ship in situations like these. I've never once thought otherwise.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I don't think that Jim Harbaugh's coaching at Michigan next year. I think
I have the same feeling.
He's been flirting back with the NFL. I think his process has been, let me see if there's a situation that I would definitely go to that is a really soft landing spot for me out of Michigan, but while I still build up Michigan so that when I do jump, because when he does, there's a great shot that they win the national title this year, that he's hoisting a trophy, and then 2 days later, he's the coach of the Bears. Just how it could be. And
2 years ago, Paul, before the Vikings hired Kevin O'Connell, it sounded like it was a done deal for Jim Harbaugh to be the coach of the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah. What was that like? He got to the second interview and then Ziggy Wilf got kind of turned off by it.
Yeah, I don't remember the full intricate details of it. I'd have to go back and look at my notes and stuff on the matter, because I don't remember exactly why that fell apart. But it sounded like they were on the doorstep. I do remember that. It was on the doorstep of Jim Harbaugh being the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, and then suddenly it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah, and he is a very strong-willed individual, so I think you have to be a certain type of person to work with him. We talked about it last week that there is tension between him and the AD, and that they understand that they have a mutually beneficial working relationship, but neither of them have to like it. It is, we know that this is going to work. So if Jim Harbaugh just did them the favor, which I think he's going to probably have to do with suspensions coming and all these other things, because he's already, they've already tried to impose the 3-game suspension this year. The NCAA, I don't think when you add this on top of it is going to like that. And they're going to have to send some sort of message, however feeble it may be. So the easiest thing for Michigan would be for just Jim Harbaugh to go, coach, I think it's the Bears or the Raiders. I think those are the places that fit him. I think that Mark Davis, the only thing that would keep him out of the Raiders is working for Mark Davis. He was, you can make the argument that Jim Harbaugh is Sid Luckman, greatest Bears quarterback of all time. Jim McMahon, most successful as far as he won them their only Super Bowl. Jim Harbaugh is right in that discussion when it comes to all-time Bears quarterbacks. And so the people in Chicago will love him. They'll love it that he's back there and he's going to bring Harbaugh ball to the Windy City. So, yeah, I think that's probably what's going to happen. And that's why I think it's unfortunate, because the situation that you have these demigod-like coaches in is what are you going to do to them? What are you really going to do? And then the other thing is radios and helmets are coming. Like this is pretty much ushered that in. Like if there was anybody who was still on the fence and being like, oh, we might have the money, they're going to get strong-armed out of it because the conference is going to say like, we just don't need this bull crap. We just don't need it. We want to move on. And so go ahead and work on cheating the next way, if you've got like a guy in a bunker, like, okay, I got him. I tapped in. I got it. Like that's the next thing you have to worry about. But, the NFL has had no problems with this. Bill Belichick has tried to steal everything he can, but you've never heard about him like tapping into the coaching headsets.
Mike Tomlin. Remember Mike Tomlin was accusing the Patriots of doing something fishy with that. And I absolutely remember Mike. I think that was the season opener maybe 10 years ago or whatever it was when they played the Steelers. Mike Tomlin was one of the first ones that said, I think something fishy is going on here.
Yeah. So, like whatever it is, right? Whatever it is, there's always going to be people trying to do something and get away with it. But if you take away, and really we talked about it. I think we talked about it last week. It's really stupid that it even exists anymore in college football, that you have to have signs and then you have to protect the signs. And then in addition to, these kind of signs and all this other stuff you're doing, you've got pictures, sounds you're making, like all these things. Look on the scoreboard. There'll be a performative art piece that'll tell you what play we're going to do. Like whatever it is, like you could just, because we all have cell phones now. Like I'm sure the technology is much easier to be like 58 blast.
Just don't look at Michigan State's scoreboard. You never know what you'll see these days, up on the scoreboard.
Yeah. Matt Rule had a good point about it in the Yahoo article that Ross Dellinger wrote, in that he thinks it's college coaches don't want to teach all that to players, like all the things you'll have to say in the helmet. And I think that's a little bit true, but there's a middle ground where you can probably simplify it. Kirk Ferentz, like begrudging will have it, and then his offensive coordinator will be like left. Bob gets the ball left.
How do you think they crack the code? That's the one thing, Paul. I got to tell you there's so many things that bother me about the situation with Michigan and Jim Harbaugh. As you know, last week we talked about it. I have a zero tolerance policy for the Pierre Nugent policy of sports and all that stuff. I have a zero tolerance policy for cheating in any form. It really, really, really bothers me. But I'll tell you what bothers me even further about this situation is, let's say for the sake of argument, the NCAA finds that Michigan has really, really messed up here in a big time way, and Jim Harbaugh is held accountable. And it's to whatever capacity that is. I don't know whether it's a multi-game suspension, a year-long suspension, whatever it is. Jim Harbaugh can absolutely burn his alma mater to the ground, and the NCAA can punish the program. And yet Jim Harbaugh is going to walk out of Michigan and walk right into a job in the NFL and have his hands as if they're completely clean and say, here's a $50 million contract from the Bears to be the coach for the next 5 years. And you leave your program in tatters. You leave the players, kind of in their own heads. So like, well, now I'm playing for a team that is sanctioned. Maybe it's a bowl game sanction. Perhaps you just leave just a trail of disaster behind you, and you kind of get off scot-free in a way, and that bothers me.
Yeah, no, again, I compared this to Watergate last week. All Richard Nixon had to do was resign. He didn't have to, all the people who worked for Richard Nixon went to jail. All these dudes went to jail for some amount of time, and Richard Nixon just was like, well, I'll just resign. Gerald Ford's in charge now.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Is that what we're going to see from Jim when he walks off campus? Just like,
yeah. That's it. So there we go. And much again, like I told you last week, the Watergate, totally unnecessary. This is everybody, like reading Max Olson, who we've got on the big show later every Thursday at 4, wrote a great column in The Athletic today about talking to a coach who's like known as like the best at it. And he's like, look, this guy went over the line, but we all do this by just watching the film of what we can get of watching the TV broadcast. Like, okay, we've seen him do this. Okay, make a note. Like, that's how they do it. Or they get it from, watching them over the years and, like, doing things. If you're good at it, like, that's fine. This is just a guy, a nerd and kind of like he was a Marine, but like a nerd who's like, look, I can take this a step further. Like, I've really got it on lock, and he can do it.
Sure.
Okay. All right, Pierre, it is time for our picks and the revelation of the dispersion of the punishments, which I have no more left.
Yes.
You went 5-0 last week, so no one can beat you, even if people tied you. Like, Garrett was one game away from doing it. Didn't matter. Yeah. Had to beat you. He went 4-1. He's no longer alone in last place. He's only one game out of third now. So there we go. We're going to do the picks next. And my announcement of this week's punishment, which I think will be super fun, is coming up next. This is 365 Sports, the triple option.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
It's another time to speak with Samantha Duvall from TexasBeefHouse.com, handles the marketing and someone that you will talk to a lot when you do call for the great product of the Texas-raised Wagyu beef. It's college football season, tailgating, it's a big deal. People love to put beef and pork and chicken, etc. on the grill. Let me know what you have.
We've got everything. If you've got a morning game, you can get our breakfast sausage or our bacon. You can tailgate with some breakfast tacos. If you've got an afternoon or evening game, we of course got our hamburger patties. They're half-pound patties, 4 patties to a package, and we even have jalapeno and cheese patties. They're amazing. They'll blow your mind. Just that extra flavor, not too spicy. They have a high-heat cheese so they don't melt on the grill, and our patties don't shrink up on the grill either. Anytime you order, use our code SICK'EM10 to get 10% off your order of $100 or more.
Where is the best beef in Texas? Your house. When you order from Texas Beef House, unleash the flavor of Texas-raised Wagyu from our pasture to your plate. That's Samantha Duvall, TexasBeefHouse.com.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit Marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sick'EM365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
There we go. I had turned the mic off during the break, not on. Not my best moment, Pierre. I'll just tell you, not my best moment.
It's happened to all of us.
Yeah,
it's happened to all of us.
You wear a wireless mic every night, right?
It is. Trust me, I've been doing it 15 years. It still happens to me to this day every once in a while.
Yeah, I just assumed that when it was sitting there, it was off, and so I put it in my pocket and I turned it off. All right. Our pick'em, Pierre leads 30. He's 30-10. Then Jack at 24-16. He's had a couple good weeks. I am 19-21. Levi and Garrett now tied in last at 18-22. So last week, Pierre, we brought up essentially the punishment. It could have been smorgasbord to Paul or mine go to them. So
right.
Everyone lost that. I am now devoid of punishments, and everyone will get mine. So Jack, who had one punishment to sing karaoke, now he gets to take one of mine, which is cold tub or Halloween costume. Jack, what will it be, cold tub or Halloween costume?
Cold tub, but none of these are ever going to happen.
Jack's still refusing to do any of them?
No, it's not refusing. None of them have happened outside of porta potty.
None of them have happened. I am working on that. We're going to do them all, I promise you. It's going to be a big deal. Levi, since he already has the same ones I do, will just have to stay in the cold tub for like a minute longer, I guess. Garrett, what would you like?
Give me the Halloween costume.
You want the Halloween costume?
I'll ride with Halloween costume.
He's going to go with Halloween costume. So there you go. And he also has Smokey Geek Squad.
Can't wait for that.
To do that one. Can't wait till we show that one. This week, the loser will have to do a whole show in face paint.
Oh.
So, and you can do the face paint of your choosing. I'll let you pick the colors. So if you want to be green and gold, if you're one of these guys, or Garrett can be purple and gold, or garnet and gold, or I don't know what you'd pick, Pierre, but you probably have to worry about it because you're on fire.
Well, I guess I would have to go with the maroon and gold maybe of the University of Minnesota. Maybe that's the one I would have to do.
Yeah, well, you would probably score you some points with PJ Fleck.
Yeah, I mean, he's, I go to bed every night hoping that PJ Fleck wakes up and likes me one day. That's what maybe this will finally put it over the top.
Yeah. All right, so let's start out. Oregon State at Arizona. Oregon State 11 in the country. Arizona on a bit of a tear since Noah Fifita has, I say a tear, they've been improving each week and they've gotten some wins now that Noah Fifita has taken over at quarterback. That being said, I think Oregon State is the pick here for me. I do think that Arizona will give them all they want. Pierre, who you got?
I mean, Arizona's frisky, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
They just found a way to just be in a lot of ball games. So I'm still taking Oregon State. I think the better team wins out here. I'm going Oregon State.
All right, he's going with the Beavs. Jack, who you got?
Arizona.
Jack is going Arizona. The very bitter man, Jack. Garrett, who you got?
Give me Oregon State.
Garrett going with the Beavers. Levi.
I'll go Arizona. This is going to be
all right.
Go ahead. Fish's first
go ahead.
Signature win.
All right. Levi's going Arizona. All right. Starting with Levi, West Virginia and UCF. John Rice Plumlee is back. That could change some things. West Virginia appears to be kind of in a stall right now after a good start. UCF almost beat Oklahoma last week in Norman. Levi, you're first.
Yeah, I'll go UCF. They look like
a
different team.
Go ahead.
They probably would have destroyed Baylor.
Okay, good deal. All right, Garrett, who you got?
Give me the Knights at the bounce house.
All right, he's going Knights. Jack?
Years.
Ooh, man. Somebody's gunning for Pierre this week. Gunning.
In that case, I'm going to take UCF.
There you go. Let's make it interesting. All right, I am also going to take UCF. In this one, I think their offense gets it done, although they will make West Virginia's defense look really, really good. Tennessee and Kentucky. Kentucky unranked now at 5-2. Tennessee is 10-1. I think Tennessee's defense is really good. They've played particularly well. This game is not going to be all that fun to watch, I think, unless you like 1990-style SEC football. But I'm taking the Volunteers. Pierre, who you got?
My gut is telling me to take, but I don't want to. I just don't want to. So I'm taking Tennessee.
All right. So he's taking Tennessee. Jack?
Tennessee.
Jack's taking Tennessee. There we go. Garrett.
Give me Kentucky. Tennessee played Bama last week. Teams usually struggle the following week after playing the Tide.
Okay, good point there, Garrett.
I'll go Kentucky too.
All right. There we go. Thank you, Vanna. All right. Levi, Louisville, and Duke. Duke will probably be without Riley Leonard.
I'll go Duke regardless.
Okay. Garrett?
This hurts my soul. I got to take Louisville. If Riley Leonard was playing, it would be Duke all day.
Okay. Jack?
I gotta go with that since Riley's out.
All right, Jack's going with the Cardinals. Pierre?
Talked about it earlier in the show. You know what? I still think Duke is the better overall team. I'm taking Duke.
All right. Well, Blue Devils. And what is always, well, not lately because Louisville is bad, but used to be a great basketball matchup. I'm going to take Duke in that defense to figure it out. And Riley Leonard, look, he might tough it out again. We'll see. But I doubt he's going to. I'm taking Mike Elko and the experience he has in this team over that. But Louisville with Jawar Jordan could be interesting to watch. All right, Oregon and Utah. I'm just going to go ahead and say Bo Nix to me is the difference in this game because he's just so darn good. And Oregon takes this one over the Utes. Pierre, who you got?
I like Utah's team a lot. I really do, but I don't like them better than Oregon. I'm taking Oregon.
Yep. Oregon did let us down the last time we picked them, but
That's
well.
True.
Jack?
Ducks.
Quack, quack, quack from Jack. All righty. Garrett.
Give me Oregon.
Look, it spells ooh.
I'll go Oregon.
There you go. Oregon. Okay, so I will pick up no games on Pierre this week. We are exactly the same. But there are some variants over here in our staff's picks. So there you go. There are the picks. It will be very interesting to see how this shakes out. These Pac-12 games have me flummoxed most of the time because this is a really, really good league. And Pierre, congratulations. I think you get to see Oregon next year, right?
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
Yeah,
and I think Oregon and UCLA are the teams next year for Minnesota. And I'm just looking at that board. I know I'm going to regret that Tennessee pick. I just know it. Just know it.
Yeah, I know. There's just Tennessee played
It's a different animal, man.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, to be honest with you.
Exactly the first thing I thought about.
I didn't even think about it. Well, listen, there's nobody who lives a life sans regrets. So
yeah, that's fair. My question is, Paul, if you and I end up in last this week, then does the tie go to the host, or what are we doing here?
No, we're both going to do it.
Oh, we're both got to do it.
We're both going to do it. We're both going to do it. So if we come in last, and man, there's a good shot we do.
that would be quite the moment for the first time show viewers when they see two guys just come up with just their face painted.
Yeah.
Did I just tune into the wrong show? What show did I just tune into? I don't understand what's happening.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the FSU glitter guys? When you're watching an FSU game, next time you watch an FSU game, believe me, you'll see a shot of them. It's two guys, one's gold, one's garnet, and it was a thing that started actually my freshman year by two guys that were in my dorm, and they are painted head to toe in glitter, glitter paint. And you can for the rest of the week, if you didn't know who they were without the glitter, if you just watch them walk by, you're oh, he couldn't get it off. It's still right there.
Yeah.
But they're in my dorm, and I was an RA in that dorm my sophomore year. And so the guys who took over were also in the dorm. It's always usually freshman guys that are, it's a student group that is in charge of it. And so, had rounds that day, and they said, hey, can we get the maintenance guy to our shower? And I was like, yeah, sure. So me and the maintenance guy go up, and there's just this big wad of glitter paint that's clogged the shower. So he bought them literally this big gigantic tub of industrial wash that people if you worked at a mechanic shop, they just have a big tub so they can wash their hands. He just bought them a big tub of that and told them they could use the hose in the back. So the saddest part.
It's a fine academic institution they got over there, I tell you.
So that year, FSU didn't lose it all, but the next year, I remember like driving by after we had lost in the 2 years later. I remember driving by. We'd lost to Maryland at home, and our home winning streak was over. And it was just two sad guys like hosing each other off behind the building.
It's a shame. It's a shame that there are times when we all wish that social media wouldn't be around because it's just such a cesspool. But there are times when I think to myself, man, I wish we had social media back in this day. And that sounds like a moment to where I think it could have been a pretty good one that would have gone viral.
It's just two dudes like Charlie Browning spraying each other off.
Totally normal. Totally normal.
Yeah. As opposed to the giddy frolicking they would normally do, I guess, in that time. All right, Pierre, that's going to do it for us. Have a great weekend. Tell Coach Fleck we said hi, even though he doesn't know us.
Will do.
Enjoy whatever Minnesota glory. They're playing this week, right?
They are playing this Saturday. They're hosting Michigan State. Temperature at kickoff, I believe, is going to be around 36 or 37 degrees. We have now moved our Gopher pregame show indoors because it's going to be around freezing, if not below freezing, at 9 a.m. on Saturday.
I bet you that was a request by you, right?
They called me and asked me what I would like to do. I said, what do you think?
Yeah, California guy.
Yeah, what do you think? You want me to do outside on campus or should we move it indoors? Take a wild guess. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Pierre. Thanks to Garrett, Jack, and Levi. That's going to do it for us. We've got something special coming to you tomorrow. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability